Nico Iamaleava has some playmakers as the Bruins bring over 3 new wide receivers in the portal.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free, whether it's your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. Welcome back, everydayers. What we're chatting about today, the disappearance of Xavier Booker and the Bigs for UCLA. And in the second segment, is this rock bottom for UCLA men's basketball? What's coming up next for the Bruins in their schedule? Meanwhile, we lead with this. Bob Chesney and the Bruins are continuing to do big-time work in the portal. The number grows to over 10. UCLA got 4 skill positions, a running back late in the evening, and then 3 wide receivers to give Nico some much-needed help on the outside and to run the football. But let's tell you, this episode's brought to you by Rougiet. If you've been thinking about the next step, now's the time. Head to Rougiet.com/LockedOnCollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rougiet ready. Feel present, feel confident, and feel ready. Well, the Bruins are ready to make something happen, right? This is a run-first offense, an offense that's oriented towards, hey, we're going to hand off the football. We're going to let Nico run, make some plays. But the Bruins are like, well, we need playmakers on the outside. James Madison, coaches now coming to UCLA. Bob Chesney realizes they can go get some SEC talented guys and bring him west to UCLA. So let's start off with the speedster, Aidan Mizell, coming from Florida, one of the more recent commits for UCLA. He was visiting, got talked to by my Florida scout, if you will, from the Locked On Network. And he said, Mizell is the speedster. And if you look from the 24/7 Sports write-up as well, this is clearly the speedster of the group for the receiving corps. That was kind of what Quasi Gilmer was supposed to be and didn't materialize because he turned into the number 1 for UCLA. Mizell isn't necessarily going to have to do something similar. He was a 4-star transfer, 4-star coming out of high school, 6'1", 185 pounds, 36 catches, 379 yards, couple of years with Florida. Didn't really work out with DJ Lagaway in Florida with that new staff, but for the Bruins, gives them speed and the ability to just burst out by giving the ball to him. They've had that sometimes with the running backs, not necessarily with the game-changing speed at receiver. But the Bruins continue to build with another James Madison transfer as Bob Chesney continues the pipeline from the Dukes to the Bruins. So James Madison's leading receiver comes over. That's Landon Ellis, who's played a couple of years at Richmond, went to James Madison with Bob Chesney, and then last year, 33 catches, 541 yards, 6'2", 213 pounds, 12 starts this last year for James Madison's Sun Belt winning team, CFP team. And he's a possession guy, a guy that can come in and bring in the Bruins, a solid receiver, someone who knows the offense. So maybe he's willing to take this role of, all right, does he have to be the number 1 guy? No, not necessarily, but he knows the offense and brings in that understanding in the receiver room that he knows this is a run-first offense. So he's not going to go out there and get 1,000 yards receiving. So that's something you like coming over from a former stop with Bob Chesney and Dean Kennedy as your offensive coordinator. He truly understands what the Bruins are going to be doing offensively. So I would say he has a leg up into starting, getting an early season role, and probably bringing the other receivers up to speed. So for what Ellis brings, a solid playmaker and somebody who knows the offense. Then you continue down this train, a third receiver here on the same day, Leland Smith. And this is the big body receiver UCLA was missing, right? The guy who can go up and get it. The Bruins had that a couple of years with J. Michael Sturdivant. They just couldn't get him the ball when it was with Dante Moore, Ethan Garber's protecting. Chip Kelly couldn't get it to him. Eric Bieniemy couldn't get it to J. Michael Sturdivant. The Bruins then lost him as a transfer to Florida. Then we take Mizell back. But this is where Leland Smith comes in. 6'4", had 43 receptions last year, 688 yards, has bounced around in his career from Fullerton College, Purdue, San Jose State. So you're getting one of the taller, bigger prospects out of the Mountain West. All right, so now instead of UCLA having just a few receivers that kind of are the same mold, they're getting different guys. The big guy, they're getting the guy that knows the offense, and the speedster in the portal. they're getting different types of receivers, so Nico has different types of weapons on the outside. And Leland Smith, huge for the Bruins to go out and get a guy who's a 3-star out of the portal, but is huge and coming off one of his most productive seasons in the college ranks. I like what he has potential. All these guys just can't get lost in, hey, they're going to sling it around, you're going to get a bunch of yards. No, UCLA is going to run the ball first, but they're going to go vertical. The Bruins have the guys that can make the plays in a variety of ways. Now, for the fourth transfer, you got Dylan Lee, who announced it late in the evening after UCLA was losing to Wisconsin. Dylan Lee comes from Iowa State. He is one of those few guys that is not going from Ames to State College. He's not following Matt Campbell from Iowa State to Penn State. He's a 6'1", coming off his redshirt freshman year, so he's got 3 years of eligibility left. Didn't really do too much. He's a Gilbert, Arizona native, played and redshirted in 2 games in 2024, redshirted, had a touchdown on 11 carries in 2024. And Dylan Lee's numbers here in 2025, you're going to look at him, you're like, okay, what was he bringing to the table? 117 yards on the ground, a touchdown, and 1 reception this year. So this is somebody who's going to rebuild the depth of the backfield and has some promise for the Bruins, and they get more options, right? UCLA had to rebuild the backfield, completely overhaul the receiver room. They lost the receivers coach. They're trying to put things into formation for what Dean Kennedy wants. And Dylan Lee looks like a guy that can have some promise for the Bruins, but now you're starting to stack up what UCLA wants. I know UCLA is supposed to have a big incoming visit from the Dyes, Josiah and Joshua. And if the Bruins can land somebody like Joshua Dye, who is one of the leaders in the FCS in rushing, that would be a wow. That's a wow transfer from the FCS. That's not exactly what Dylan Lee brings to the table from his first year, a couple of years of college football, but if you're liking what you did at Iowa State, bring him over. The Bruins are filling up the gaps. They're filling out, rounding out what this roster looks like, and now the numbers are continuing to grow. I hope any day now the Bruins make that splashy transfer. They lost out on that with Dorian Thomas, who was crystal balled to UCLA. I thought the Bruins could get both Josh Pfeiffer and Thomas, but the last minute Cal, of all places, took Thomas to Cal instead of to UCLA. Keeping him west, just sending him north. So the one thing I would like to see is what's that splashy transfer? The Bruins are improving. They're getting loads of guys coming to UCLA and checking out the new vibes, checking out the new digs with Bob Chesney in charge. But when can they get that splashy transfer? Is it a Sahir West? Is it, somebody like a Dye, getting the Dyes over here, one of them who is one of the leading rushers in the FCS? Is it a Nico Brown who's been visiting UCLA from Yale? Although I wonder if he's not committing and the Bruins just got 3 receiver commits as of this recording, is that a realistic possibility? I don't know. You already got a bunch of receivers coming in. Does Brown want to be the next one in? He is that game changer who could go down the field and make big plays. We'll find out. So you're missing the Nico Brown from Yale. Dorian Thomas is already signed with Cal. What's that game-changing transfer going to be? I like what the Bruins have done so far, but to get everybody excited and say, wow, the Bruins still have yet to do that at this moment. So we'll keep tabs on that as the recruiting builds and builds and builds. Next, we're talking UCLA men's hoops. Have they hit rock bottom? I'm actually not sure if they have, because the schedule gets tougher from a travel standpoint before the Bruins stay home for an extended period. We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel's users, they get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. And here's what you can love about it. You ride with your favorite team when your team controls the matchup. And take a shot on the underdog. If you feel like an upset's coming, you get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about, and then apply the profit boost to go after even bigger winnings. When you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get on the action for all playoffs long. Visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. Cruising on, second segment, we're talking UCLA. Have they hit rock bottom with Mick Cronin's bunch this year? A team that I thought would have a lot better season at this point. Even at the worst, I thought they'd be much better than this. Nope, 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 nope. That has not been the case because UCLA, man, oh man, they have been absolutely struggling. They're in their worst possible form right now. Back-to-back losses, 10-5 overall, 2-2 in conference, one win away from home, and that was at Washington, where the Bruins struggled to hold on to a massive lead late against the Huskies. So what are the Bruins looking at right now? I'm not sure if UCLA's even hit rock bottom yet. Maybe from a play standpoint, they're hitting rock bottom. You're missing Sky Clark. Xavier Booker's on the bench. We'll touch on that later. The Bruins really have no answers for what's going on the court. So I would say Mick Cronin being at a loss for what to do, this seems like his worst possible form of this team at this moment. All right. And the Bruins haven't played what could be the number one team in the country in Michigan. They have played number one Arizona and played better, but they haven't played Michigan. They go to Michigan State. The Bruins still have to host Purdue, host Indiana. They got to play USC twice. They host Nebraska, who's one of the better teams in the Big Ten this year. Last year, Nebraska was dominating the Bruins. Like, they're still the tougher teams to play. Iowa, who just went and lost to Minnesota, and Wisconsin are closer to Oregon and Washington than what UCLA is going to go play. And what I mean by what's going to be a tougher chance for UCLA, the Bruins come back home and they play Maryland. They have some time to recover, get a little acclimated back to the surroundings and to the winter quarter at UCLA. But is Sky Clark going to be healthy enough to play that game? If he's not, you're missing a lot of production from the three-point shooting. You know what happened when he missed the entirety of the Wisconsin game? The Bruins basically had one of their worst shooting games out there, followed by a poor shooting game against Iowa, where he missed the majority of the second half. Both games where the Bruins are down 20-plus points. Both times. So now UCLA comes back against Maryland. A little bit different because this is a Buzz Williams coach team. Not like last year's Maryland team, which was really good and got to the tournament, won on a buzzer beater, kept going down. But for Maryland, that's still a tough game for UCLA to play. And they're going west. It'll be a Saturday night, 8 p.m. local for Maryland tip. And then the Bruins got to turn around, prepare, and go to Penn State, who played Michigan to the buzzer. Of all the Big Ten atmospheres, Penn State's probably, outside the West Coast teams, the worst. Penn State had 0 people there at the end of that Michigan game when they had Michigan on the ropes, had a chance to win the game at the buzzer. Nobody was there jumping, hooping, and hollering. It's the travel to get there for a basketball game in the middle of the week that's going to hurt the Bruins, I think. Then they got to turn around and go travel to Ohio State, where that's a 10 a.m. body clock, right? That's 10 a.m. Pacific for a tip on a Saturday morning before you come back. That is as brutal as it gets. Last year, UCLA had less losses during non-conference play. They lost to New Mexico. They choked it to North Carolina. They started 2-0 in Big Ten play, just like they did this year against Oregon and Washington, before dropping 4 in a row. UCLA is capable of doing the same thing, going to start 2-4. And if Sky Clark is not ready for the Maryland game, the Bruins, dare I say, could go all the way to 2-5 before they start figuring things out. The only problem is once they start playing on the West Coast consistently, that first game they play is against Purdue, the preseason Big Ten favorites. Then you got Northwestern at home. That's a scrappy game you're going to play against the Wildcats. Go to Eugene, then you host Indiana, Rutgers, Washington, before they go for a Valentine's Day showdown to take on Michigan and follow that up with a Michigan State game. So they can get some wins when they play the Northwesterns, Oregons, Indianas, and Rutgers and Washingtons at home. When they play a long stint at home last year, that's when the Bruins figured it out. They pulled off an upset. Last year it was Wisconsin, hoping this year it will be Purdue. So I think in terms of play, the way they look, how bad they are defensively, now it looks like they can't score offensively as consistently without the three-point shot. This is as bad as it gets for UCLA playing. The record will get a little bit worse, and then I think the Bruins will balance out. Maybe not to the point where they'll ever sniff the top 25 again, and that's not going to be the case. They're not at Kansas where they can take 4 big-time losses, almost lose to TCU at home. That's not what's going to happen. UCLA, they're truly building for a tournament and a better path through March, because right now they're not even in the tournament. You're looking at Oregon, you're looking at Washington. Okay, decent wins, but then these other losses, the Iowas and the Wisconsin losses, where they're getting beat down on the road for the majority of these games, if the committee really watches this team, they're like, why would we put this team that it's one thing to lose competitively at Iowa and Wisconsin, but in both games, they're getting boat raced in the first half, down 18, down 20, down 24. And that's the problem. And the thing with Mick Cronin's team, it doesn't look like they're ready to flip the switch. It's like we're waiting for this team to go to another gear that we simply haven't seen since the first half UCLA played against San Diego State in an exhibition. We haven't seen that gear, and that was without Eric Daly Jr. I was remembering the preseason hype San Diego State got as a Mountain West contender, as a dark horse Final Four contender, and I was believing the hype. I believed it. I want you guys, everybody listening and watching to believe it with me. But the Bruins just haven't had it since that first 20 minutes against San Diego State in Viejas. And Mick Cronin was saying, I want this team to get their butts kicked and then they can figure it out. Well, I don't know what's getting your butt kicked at Iowa for a good 20 minutes and Wisconsin and all these other games is going to do if they're not going to turn it around. So I do think UCLA will lose 2 of their next 3 games, and then they will stabilize. Whether it's to make the tournament as a better than first 4 team, I don't know, but they will stabilize and go on a run. Whether they can reach the heights, quote unquote, of last year's team, that depends if they can upset Purdue at home with a big crowd or if everybody's given up by then. That's really what it's going to take. Now, in terms of a player standpoint, what happened to the big production? What is UCLA missing on the wing? We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. Let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. The stress from work, money, life, it just doesn't switch off at night. But when it shows up at its worst possible time, Rouge Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rouge Ready is a next generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. It combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in one mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. And you connect with board-certified doctors online, and everything ships discreetly to your door. Most men are running about 15 minutes on average, so you can stay present, confident, and in control when the moment is right. If you've been thinking about taking that next step, now is the time. Head to rougiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rougiet Ready. Feel present, feel confident, and feel ready. Cruising on here with Locked On UCLA, continuing on the men's basketball front. The Bruins are definitely in a struggle bus. UCLA needs to figure it out. And the big question is, one of our X factors this year was the big man X, Xavier Booker, who came over from Michigan State, went to East Lansing with a lot of hype out of high school, and then went over from East Lansing to Westwood, and the same confusing puzzle remains. What is Booker? How can you unlock him? And was he overhyped or is he just misunderstood? Xavier Booker, these last few games, has averaged, in his last, 5 games, averaged less than 9 minutes per game. He's not even scoring about 2 points per game. Xavier Booker's last 5 games played, his point production has gone down a full 3 points per game. From 12 points versus Gonzaga, he hasn't been close to double figures since a 6-point outing against UC Riverside. In the last 5 games, Xavier Booker's attempted 4 threes, which was one of his calling cards earlier in the year. He would hit 1 of 2, 2 of 3, which is why the Bruins were competitive with Arizona in that game. Why, when he played against Cal, had 10 points, was making some things happen. Why, when the Bruins beat Oregon, hit 2 out of 3 threes, the Bruins were playing well when they had a huge lead against the Ducks. But in those last 4 or 5 games, he hasn't attempted a single 3 in 4 of those 5 games. Hasn't attempted a single 3. Attempted 4 threes against Riverside, made 1. So teams have scouted and made sure we're not sagging off of Booker. He's not been a guy to take 5 threes a game, but of those 3, he'll generally like one if he's given the space. The teams have said we are not sagging. You have to prove you can bully us off the block. We have to make sure Booker gets it down low. We don't think he's gonna outmuscle us in the paint to get easy points. When the Bruins try to lob it, it's not a guaranteed jam. Whether it's to Booker or somebody else, we've seen more dunks from other players than we've seen from Booker so far. The rebounding, he's had 3 rebounds in his last 5 games. And we're at a breaking point for Booker right now. 1 point, didn't even get to start against Wisconsin. 3 minutes against Cal Poly. Hasn't played more than 15 minutes in a game since his 26 minutes against Gonzaga. And we're getting close on a month since that Gonzaga game. Since that secret extension was given, announced, if you will, to about Mick Cronin and his massive buyout for this year. What a crazy year it could be for Mick Cronin to have a huge buyout number when this is probably one of his most disappointing years as UCLA head coach. And for the guy he got to either go alongside a Di Mata or to simply replace Mata, it's not working out. Just like Mick Cronin and his team, which is supposed to be one of the better ones that he's had, it's not working out. And what UCLA, I wonder, I keep bringing up this point. Are they missing a Kobe Johnson more and Stefanovic? Or are they missing William Kyle and a Di Mata? Cronin has not consistently won with having the Di Matas, but he has won and been elite when Jalen Clark transformed into a superstar by the time his career was over at UCLA. Kobe Johnson was a big difference between the team that did make the tournament to the one that was a more consistent player last year, right? Kobe Johnson hit some threes, hit some dagger shots, steal the basketball, and when he didn't commit silly personal fouls and was on the court, UCLA was good. Because the Bruins beat Arizona, they beat Gonzaga without significant play from a Di Mata in the non-conference. Kobe Johnson was helpful. Sky Clark, while he wasn't putting up 18 to 25 points, he was still getting 10 points. That's what the Bruins are missing right now. So a healthier UCLA team and better guard play suits Mick Cronin's style. The question is, why can't the Bruins adapt and unlock Booker, whatever it might be, to his strengths? But I think what Coach Cronin's trying to figure out and starting to realize, and what we're realizing, Cronin is just Tom Izzo 2.0. I remember hearing that from Matt Sheehan from Locked On Spartans, our Michigan State brethren here in the Locked On Podcast Network, saying him going to UCLA is somewhat the same step, just going west with Tom Izzo, Mick Cronin, a guy that's going to be intense. We haven't seen Mick Cronin yell at an alumni yet in the stands for being a little too inebriated at a game like Tom Izzo did earlier this week, but man, they're pretty much the same guy, just Izzo has more Final Fours. He's got the national championship to his name. He's got more wins, but they're the same guy, the same fiery dude that's got a bunch of wins. And we're expecting Booker to thrive from Michigan State to UCLA. If Cronin's calling card is he can develop these guys, then why can't we find a role to where he's successful? And I know in that stretch, Cronin had mentioned a few weeks ago that Booker has turned his ankle, sprained it, had issues. UCLA has had some trouble staying healthy. Dent came into the year injured. Perry hurt himself with an ankle. Bilodeau missed a game or two. Now Sky Clark's missed a game. That means basically the entire starting 5 for UCLA has missed games, right? You're looking at Daly Jr., who was slow to get to this season. Bilodeau's missed games. Booker has been struggling / I think what Cronin said had an ankle turn. Dent hurt and missed a game. Clark's missed games. So part of the problem is this team just hasn't played a full part of the season together, which is why they haven't played a strong, fully committed 40 minutes together in an actual game. UCLA looks good, but they're not good enough to turn it on and destroy a team, which is what we saw versus Eastern Washington on opening night, where they were never in doubt, but they didn't flex their muscle and beat them down by 30 or 25 and not cover the spread. That's why UCLA has been so frustrating. You see the entire starting 5 leading to their big man at the 5. They just haven't been consistent. And can Mick Cronin find a way to unlock his big man? Or is he going to look to Jamar Brown, Trent Perry, to turn more into a Kobe Johnson, Lazar Stefanovic type, where they can be do-it-all wings, and then the Bruins just go small, right? You put Bilodeau at the 5. You put Daly at the 4. Let him muscle his way down low. You let Bilodeau pull out the biggest, the stretch 5, although an undersized 5, stretch 5, and live with it. And then you put in Jamerson when you need to rebound and some blocks and some physicality. Or can Cronin truly unlock Booker, get some screens, get him shots from the three-point line versus just watching him leak out after a screen, pick and pop and hit the 3, because that hasn't worked. He's not even getting minutes on the court. Cronin, after the game, I think the quote was, he's not playing any defense. He can't rebound. Well, that's true, but why can't UCLA put in a system that keeps him on the court versus just benching the dude? The Bruins don't have the depth. Last year, UCLA could go small, go to William Kyle or a Daimara. UCLA has nothing beyond that point. They haven't even truly wanted to go small this year. I know Cronin's been doing it more and more the last couple of games, but it doesn't feel like he's committed to doing that because he knows it's not consistent enough to win in the Big Ten. Well, that might be the only way this team can go. Go small, score points, light it up, and outscore teams. Put Booker on the floor and let him shoot some threes because he's got a decent percentage. Just let him get looks and catch fire one of these days because he's not the big man that's going to go out, block shots, dunk it over everybody. That's just not what it's been. And he's still a junior. He's still got another year of eligibility where it seems like, is this a relationship that's heading for the portal after this season is done? Could be. Because you got a few seniors on this team, guys who might look elsewhere. You would think Booker, you would think Perry. Would they be frustrated with their 1 or 2 years at UCLA? Absolutely. Or do they need more development and Mick Cronin's going to unlock it over these next 3 months? Because that's the difference between this team being decimated by the portal in a few months' time or a team that could potentially look like the team that went to the Final Four. Sneak in and just hope for to catch fire. Because right now the Bruins need something. They need something to grow. And Cronin has to find a way to put these guys together. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster of a year, and they won't even make the tournament. All right? So next time, we will talk more portal, more men's and women's basketball, everything coming up with UCLA sports, men's basketball, women's basketball, football. Hands up, Bruins fans. A clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked on UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.